Everybody, this your girl Kiki, back at you for a late night snack, a late night video. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about Lovecraft Country. It just ended tonight. It was a season finale, last episode, series finale. I don't know, I can't tell you, but we're going to talk about it. If you have not seen it and you don't want it spoiled, then click off right now, come back to this video later, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to give you the skinny, so it's definitely going to have spoilers in it. What I thought about the episode, why, my slight observations, my unique observations, and why I give the rating that I'm giving. So like, share, subscribe, comment, share. Whether you agree or disagree, go ahead. You want to at me, go ahead at me. I'll leave links also to my Instagram and to my store, because you know I am a mom entrepreneur, however you pronounce it, whatever. So I'll leave links in the descriptions for all of that. Lovecraft Country. Okay, so if you've been in a hole somewhere, or maybe you don't watch Lovecraft Country, you're just stumbling upon my video for some reason. Lovecraft Country is a show that's on HBO. It is based on a book by Matt Ruff with the same name, Lovecraft Country. He wrote the book. I think this book came out like in the early 90s. It's kind of like the way the style that's written. I've read the book is like an anthology. So like each chapter, has like an adventure for each different character. And the show kind of follows along to it, but the show is veered off greatly than the book. This show, it stars a character named Atticus. They call him Tick, is his nickname, and he's a Korean War veteran, and he's living in, I believe he's living in is he living in the South? He's living in the South. He has to go up north because his dad disappears. So he has to get in a hold of his uncle, and he gets with an old high school friend, and they go on an adventure trying to find his uncle. It's like a mixture of Lovecraft myth, magic, not too heavily magically, not like, dragons or anything like that, but, magic people using magic, racism. Lovecraft Country does take place in the past. So like in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, around that time frame. So it really touches on racism and Jim Crow South and prejudice and a lot of topics dealing with race. But then it's also like an adventure and sci-fi. Some of it is sci-fi. Most of it is horror. And so, yeah, there you go. So that's just a brief overview if you don't know what it is. It's an awesome show. You should watch it. So tonight was season 1, episode 10. This is the season finale or the show finale. I haven't heard anything about a season 2, so who knows. Hopefully we'll hear whether or not. And so let's get into it. For me, I give the overall episode a 7.5 or 8. I've enjoyed this show. I liked Watchmen. If you like more comic booky kind of stuff, but then you also appreciate the historical references and the racism and all that. But, Watchmen takes place in our modern age for the most part. I would recommend Watchmen if you have not watched Watchmen. It won a lot of Emmys because it deserved to win every damn Emmy it got. So if you didn't watch Watchmen, you're missing it. You should go back and watch it. That was on HBO as well. So tonight's episode of Lovecraft Country, it starts out, picks up wherever the last episode left off. And they have the Book of Names, and they're trying to save Dee. And they decide to stake this plan to read the Book of Names and talk to his ancestors. First of all, let me just say, I have to go back and rewatch this damn episode. Because this episode, I was confused. Like, I didn't really understand. I mean, I understand what the explanation was given in the episode of why he went back to some red place, some spirit realm where his mother and great grandmother was there, or great grandmother was there, and the explanation for that, and the baby brought them there, and they telling them they had to read the book of names. He had to read the book and open the book, and sacrifices had to be made. Okay, I get why the explanation, but it really didn't. It just didn't give too much of an explanation. So I was still confused as to why they were there. Why did they have to conjure up the Titus Braithwaite and kill him? Like, again, I have to go rewatch. Maybe, perhaps, I admit I may have missed something, but I was watching the show. But I was like, so they have to do some kind of spell to conjure Titus Braithwaite up and then take his spirit and make it a solid form and then take part of his flesh and use it. Magic, I guess. I don't, again, excuse me if I missed something, but I wasn't the only person confused. So there were other people online that were like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? That part seemed a bit rushed. That's the part that I did not like. I mean, that whole scene, I kind of felt like something was off. I was like, is this really his ancestors, or they're gonna trick him? Like, and then when they really were just there to help. I don't know. It's just something about that whole scene. Maybe the way it was written, the way it was acted. Just, I don't know. It just seemed like it was off. And then Letty asking Ruby to help her, and I guess she did help her. I tried to. But then she did tell Letty, you haven't been a really good sister, which I totally agree. Letty is a shitty sister. I'm sorry, people. She's a shitty sister. Like, she apparently, there's a lot of history there between them that we don't have privy to. But every time she needs something from Ruby, then she asks her. But then, like, through the whole entire time of her coupling up with William, Christina, William, whatever, and her changing into a white woman and all that, like, her sister is just like, I see Letty. I love Letty as a person. I love Letty as a character, but Letty is very self-absorbed and selfish. Like, it was plain to see since the first episode, since Letty danced her ass on stage, that her and her sister had some kind of stressful relationship, and then she needed a place to stay and all that. So you could see the foundations of their relationship, and the relationship with their brother was not good, because even when Letty went to her brother for help, he was like, you ain't been around. Letty just seemed very flighty. Like, I think her whole thing was she just kind of flittered, and there had to be things that they've given a hint between the relationship between Letty and Ruby and their mother, is their mother was much like Letty herself, and very flighty and very unreliable. And, her mother was just, seems like with this man and that man, and here today and gone tomorrow. And I think Ruby kind of saw some of that in Letty, with Letty getting with Tick and being self-absorbed. That self-absorption, to me, just made Ruby kind of think back, have a flashback to their mother's behavior. And she didn't like it. And I think Ruby was very resentful of it. Then on top of that, of her being the darker sister, her being the bigger sister, her being the sister that had a lot of talent. She could sing her ass off. She sang better than Letty. And then the fact that it seemed like Letty got all the attention for just because of, she could sing. But people seem to respond to Letty more on stage just because of colorism and sexism and, I mean, sizeism, all the isms. So Letty, I think, had a right to feel how she felt about being with a sister who just seemed like she only needed her when she needed something. And that was real talk, and that was real shit. And I wasn't hating on Ruby for that. Again, let me say, Ruby is like my favorite character in this show. Like, I love Ruby and I love Dee. Dee reminds me of when I was a kid and I like to do sci-fi stories and stuff like that. And Ruby very much reminds me just a part of my personality, which is no nonsense, pragmatic, no shit, like, it reminds me kind of those sides of my personality. Speaking of Dee, poor Dee, they get back from the red dream world where Hannah explains about flames and fire in the book. There were some questions that I had, like, again, where did the book really come from? The language that they were speaking was obviously some ancient language. And things that were said in the episode of like the book doesn't belong to you, because obviously the Braithwaite family had passed it on from generations, and they most likely they probably stole it from some other culture, because the language doesn't sound like any kind of like Gaelic or Irish or anything. It sounded like something very, very, very ancient that maybe one of their ancestors stumbled upon one day, and maybe they already knew they knew magic, and or maybe they were heard about the book and then they went and stole it or took it or some kind of. I would really love to know the history of the Book of Names. Again, in this in the I know the show can't answer everything, but I just really want to know, what did the Book of Names really do? Like, what kind of power did it really wield? I don't think we have tapped what the Book of Names even does, besides spells and immortality. And I think there was so much more to this book. But like I said, I wasn't expecting them to answer that in this episode. That was just piqued my curiosity. But then Diana, they do something to try to reverse her the spell that was put on her, and then they reverse the spell, but somehow her arm is still shriveled up. And again, that wasn't really too much explained. Like, why did everything else heal but her arm? I don't. I mean, again, these are things that I like. Maybe I'll rewatch it and post another video. But there's just certain things that I just felt like was very rushed and left out. And it should have been 2 episodes instead of 1. So that was interesting. But they got Dee, back. And Dee is very resentful of her mother, which she should have been. She's like, where were you? Where were you? And, her mom was explaining to her that she's been to places and things and that she can never dream of, but she still thought about her daughter, and she's still a mom and still came back home. And that touched me, because I'm like, it makes you feel that no matter where you are as a mother and how fun it is and what you're doing and what maybe you're doing something that you love, whether it be your career, a hobby or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, you still love your children. Your children is still like your main focus, and that nothing can take the place of of the love and the care and the sense of responsibility that you have as a parent, or shouldn't. You can love your life, you can love adventure, but the best part of me is that the fact that I'm a mother. That's the best part of me. I'm creative, I'm a businesswoman, I'm artistic, I'm funny, but at the end of the day, my biggest role is being a mother. It's the role that I cherish the most. And so I thought that was sweet. So apparently, they, Ruby and Letty have at it again at the grave, and they had their little conversation or whatever. And, Ruby reads her ask for filth, and she asks, Ruby for help, and Ruby's like, okay, fine, I'll try to help you. Then this is the part I don't like. So finally, they're getting things together, and I guess they all decide to drive all the way to I didn't understand why they had to drive so far to go do this ritual, why they had to go back to Lovecraft Country, back to the village. And I don't, again, I have to watch it again, because I guess that went over my head as to why they had to drive all the way back to the city or whatever. And I'm just like, okay. And so they get accosted by racist people on the bridge, and then Ruby and Letty, they go off and they're trying to set everything up, and then you find out that Ruby isn't Ruby. I was like, the fuck? That was a shocking for me. I was like, what? If Ruby isn't Ruby, it really is Christina. Okay, but then leaves some other questions. Every time we've seen Ruby or Christina change, it's usually not been that long. But so she was as Ruby for quite a while. So I'm like, I don't know how much. Maybe it has something to do with the amount of potion you're taking. I don't know. To me, that really didn't match up, that she was in Ruby's body for so long. But then again, she has been as William like all day. So I guess it just depends. And then she said that Ruby was dead. But then in one scene, like in a flashback, they showed Ruby in the bed. But they never show how she incapacitated Ruby. I guess Ruby tried to pull one over on her, and she found out what Ruby was trying to do. Or maybe Ruby told her what she was trying to do. I don't, I don't, I don't, I don't know. And then she was like, Ruby promised, maybe promise not to hurt you. But then she was whooping Letty's ass anyway. I was confused. Like I said, that whole Ruby situation off screen, I disliked. I did not like that. Anyway, they didn't do my girl dirty. Then they didn't even show how did she get incapacitated. Then it said she was dead, but then she was laying in the bed in a coma. And I'm like, okay, in order for Christina to be her, she don't have to die. Like, I don't. To me, killing Ruby was just unnecessary. I was like, okay, she could have did the spell right without her dying, without her killing her. And how did she incapacitate and kill her? Like they didn't show any of that. They just showed Ruby laying in the bed, and I mean, I was like, okay. So I don't know. And then another thing, before all of that even happened, Christina told Tick that like if you just give me the book, I'll find another way to become immortal. I'll leave you and your family alone and just walk off into the sunset, and I'll leave all y'all alone. And he was like, well, no, da, da, da. I understand because of the plot has to move. I get plot reasons why he could, but I was just like, okay, he could have just said, oh, okay, here's the book and gone. But he was like, no, I'm not giving you the book. And then there was no valid explanation as to why any rational person would be like, okay, I'm finna fight this person and take her down. When Dee was healed, you could have just gave her the damn book and could have just moved on, you know. But I like I said, I don't know. It's because of conversation that the ancestors had told her about, told him about like not giving them the book and all this kind of stuff. To me, the whole Christina being a villain, Christina wasn't, to me, wasn't a credible, real credible villain. I mean, to me, she wasn't that scary. She was just trying to become immortal, and she felt like she had the right to become immortal because all the men in her family, they just kind of passed over the women. And, you know, she was just totally selfish. You know, she wanted to be immortal and powerful. But I mean, again, to me, there was really no bite behind that either. And I'm just like, okay, she wanted to become immortal, and then what? It wasn't like really like we didn't really hear no grandiose plan. Like I want to become immortal and then take all the white folks and we're gonna rise up and kill everybody. I mean, no, it wasn't that. It was just like, well, I want my birthright. I want to be immortal. I'll do anything to get to be immortal. But then just like, okay, well, what are you gonna do with that immortality? Again, in the whole series, I don't think that was ever established. Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting another big bad to be revealed behind all of this. Like Lancaster, like the police officers and the police chief, they were some bad motherfuckers. Like them dudes was killing people, taking black body part. Like them dudes practicing magic was pretty bad. So I kind of expected more of the magical white people or white men in that group to show up at, I don't know what I wasn't expecting this ending. So Christina captures, the townsfolk capture everybody. They tie Tick up. I don't know what Montrose was doing. That's another question I had. What was Montrose doing? I don't know. He was just laid knocked out like this. I'm like, I'm like, Montrose, what happened to you? Just you sleep? Like, I really thought that Montrose and Tick had switched bodies, or Tick or Montrose and Letty had switched bodies. I don't know. But anyway, so Ruby and Christina, they fight to the death on top of the roof. The fight I expected to be more bloody. Like they were duking it out, punching blows. I thought teeth was nose gonna be broken, blood. I mean, that's just being nitpicky, but there wasn't just wasn't enough blood in that fight for me. I mean, and you know, Ruby's a big girl. She like body slammed Letty, like, and she's supposed to be pregnant. I was just like, damn, okay, is the baby okay? Like what? You know, and then she threw her out the window, and then I'm thinking, oh shit, Letty's dead. Then you know they didn't tie Tick up and they gutted his ass like a fish. We ain't gutted him. They just sliced his arms and he bleeding. And then all of a sudden Letty pops up and she has the mark of Cain. I was totally confused. I was like, I again, I wasn't the only person. I was like, okay, wait, how did she get? Wait, I'm like, wait, how did she get the mark and why did her baby save her? I'm still like, somebody need to explain that to me because I didn't. I was like, okay, so she pops up and she's okay. I was like, what is? I'm like, I seriously, I was sitting there going, okay, maybe I need to watch a little. I was like, what just? I was like, okay, so but Christina early in the episode had taken her and her you know her invulnerability. So I just, to this day, I'm still struggling going, what happened there? I don't understand how she just popped up like, bitch, I'm back in it. And so, and then there's Jihan, and I knew reason why she came back for a reason. She was gonna come and save the day at the end. And then Christina has a book. She's trying to do some spell. Christina's telling her to just give it up. And again, Christina being a villain, she wasn't really a villain. She was immortal. She could have just really just killed everybody there. She could have just waved, said kuhushu sha mushala manachidi boom 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 sha boom boom ka ka ka. Ooh, ooh. And then she could have just literally like killed everybody there. But she didn't. She was just telling Letty, just give it up, give it up. I got immortal. I'm immortal. Bye, bitch. Like, she was just trying to walk past her like, okay, I'm finna go live my best life. Live my best life. Sorry, I killed your sister, but live my best life. And again, like I said, I didn't really see her as like the villain. She was just like, okay, so then this big dark storm cloud form or whatever, and then Jihan at the end gets inside this dark cloud. I don't know, is this a magical cloud? Is this a darkness cloud? I don't really know. They don't really explain. And so Jihan remembers the words that the Korean like medicine woman, Korean soothsayer, whoever she went to with her mother in that one episode. So she steps inside this big storm, this like dark tunnel whirlwind storm, and then all of a sudden like her tentacles pop out. I don't know, I guess this tunnel gave her an orgasm or something. I thought only her tentacles could be free whenever she's having sex, so I'm assuming that the big whirlwind thing gave her an orgasm. That's what I'm going with. It's my story, I'm sticking to it. And so all her tentacles pop out. She grabs Christine, grabs Tig. She starts seeing flashes of both of their memories, and I'm just like, okay. And then I'm not, it subdues Christina in some way, uses the almost said prayer, use the spell that Letty was saying as a way to, as a conduit. I'm not quite sure. And she grabs Christina by the tentacles and she throws her on the ground. And then somehow Letty did a spell to bind magic for all white people. Again, I'm not quite sure what that means or the grand scheme of things of importance. I don't know. We need a second season or we need a better explanation. I don't understand how binding the magic of all white people. What was that supposed to do? I know that Atticus went into the future and he saw a lady with an arm and he got the book and he learned about there was some white people riding, but that wasn't really never explained what was really going on. Did that have anything to do with magic? Or the white people riding because they all realized that they all had magic? Was it the magical white people riding? Were they trying to kill the magical black people? Are there magical black people out there? There has to be. Yeah, like again, I'm not expecting these answers to be made in this last episode, but like if you want to tie things up in a last episode of a season, I expect certain things to either kind of make sense or kind of come together, or certain plot points or character motivations to I kind of like it to make sense. Again, I went through the whole damn Game of Thrones thing, and don't even get me started on season 8 of Game of fucking Thrones. Don't even talk about it, because I was so disappointed that my favorite character ended up becoming the damn villain and all that. And I'm still, as you can tell, I am still salty as fuck about that. Still in my, I can't even watch this. I just pretend that season doesn't even exist to me. It's dead to me, because I was so disappointed and so hurt, especially by that last episode. I was just like, I refused to watch it. After I heard about it, I refused to watch it for like 2-3 weeks. And I finally watched it and was outraged and watched half of it, walked away, came back. I was mad about Game of Thrones. I invested a lot of time in Game of Thrones. Lovecraft Country, of course, I haven't invested that much time and energy. But yeah, that was the end. I was just like, okay, so what is taking away white from it? And then at the end, Atticus dies, and I was like, oh my god. Now, I kind of had a feeling that Atticus was gonna die, but I didn't expect Ruby to die at all. I thought Montrose was gonna die. I thought maybe Jihad was gonna do her last thing, kill Christine, and then go silently into that nine-tailed fox. Good night, Naruto. Good night. But I didn't expect Atticus to die. But then I kind of felt like when he was announced He's now King the Conqueror in Marvel. So I kind of feel like he's not going to be able to do, he's not going to sign this big old ass Disney Marvel deal and then still turn around and do Lovecraft Country episodes. I mean, that's just rare. It doesn't happen. If he's going to be this big a part of Marvel, probably for movies and TV shows and appearances and all this kind of shit. So I kind of feel like something was going to happen to him. But now people are talking about second season before they saw this episode. Now I just feel like there shouldn't be a second season. Like I love the show, but I'm just like the way it ended to me. Atticus was the anchor for me. I mean, some people said it's okay, you know, Letty, she's gonna have her child by herself, and Montrose is gonna be there as a granddaddy. Maybe he'll be a much better granddaddy he was a dad, which should happen. But I don't know how I feel about a second season. I mean, if they do it right, they still can put Atticus in it from another dimension or another time and do some timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, Doctor Who type shit. And I don't have an issue with that. But I just think that like maybe it should just stay where it's at. I don't know what the ratings are for this show. I know this show is getting a lot of buzz, but again, ratings wise, I don't know. Watchmen got a lot of buzz, but from what I heard from people, the ratings weren't really that good for Watchmen. Lovecraft Country, I don't. I'm assuming it's the same kind of ratings. What I can say about Lovecraft Country is this is just a way that sci-fi can be good, fantasy can be good, and it can be including a diverse cast and put black folks in science fiction. I hope that they would adapt many different sides. Octavia Butler is a writer that I've been waiting for years, years, you hear me, to adapt her work. Her books are on point. They are stellar. There are things that I read when I was a young adult that I absolutely positively adored. Kindred, is I adore it. I adore it. Like it so needs to be a TV show or a movie. It was Octavia Butler was so ahead of her time. If you have not read her works were ahead of her time. And she's a black author and she passed away like 5 years ago. She was so ahead of her time. And her books so deserve to be adapted into everything. Movies, TV shows, every Netflix movies, whatever that they could find because her work is truly visionary. Speaking as a African American person watching Watchmen or Lovecraft Country, it was a great history. I love history, so it was a great history lesson. To see, you know, Jim Crow South and everything. These are things that I already know, but I know understand a lot of people, black, white, or whoever, don't really know these things. I love history. I'm a history nut. I love any kind of history. Especially United States history. I know a lot about racism and the things that went on in this country that people, for some reason, are either not interested in learning about or don't know about unless they put it into a damn movie, TV show, or a song. Yeah, I like to read books. I actually read things. I actually watch documentaries. So the Tulsa massacre was not a shock to me. I already knew this already happened. So other people thought it was fake. They didn't realize this is really a real event. I had to explain to people this really happened, and people were like, "How could I not know this happened?" Because the St. Louis riots happened. There was riots all over the country in many different cities that people chased people, killed hundreds of people, and burned cities down to the ground. There's several cities out here in Texas that apparently that's what happened to. I'm not from Texas, so our Texas history I don't really know a lot about. But I've heard about, you know, seen documentaries and listened to things about different cities all over the country that were just wiped out, that were black cities. So it's not just Tulsa. There was massacres and riots in many different cities. Yeah. So it's just now people are willing to talk about it. People still want to try to cover up for it. I guess people want to keep it buried because they're embarrassed. They don't want to pay reparations to people. You know, there's mass graves. I promise you all over this country that people haven't dug up or people just knew that they were there, but they just built shit over them anyway. There's a lot of black cemeteries that my ancestors were personally buried in that the people just plowed over the land and just didn't give a shit about the people buried there. They weren't trying to move the people anywhere like they were supposed to. They just like, oh, it's just a bunch of black people. Let's just leave them there. We'll just, you know, cement it. I mean, there are a lot, this country, it needs a reckoning. Like, it needs like a truth and reconciliation council like they have in South Africa. I've said this over and over and over again. It needs to be taught in schools. Schools need to stop being teaching propaganda and need to start teaching truth. So again, it's sad that we have to have Lovecraft Country and entertainment and monsters and sci-fi and superheroes in order for people to be like, oh my God, like Jim Crow was terrible. Well, hell yeah, it was terrible. There were sundown towns. There still are sundown towns, right? Still, for the people in the back, still are sundown towns. Not just in the South. Up north, Ohio. Yeah, okay. Just marinate on that for a second. Yeah, 2020, there's still sundown towns. So just don't think that we've changed this much. But I just hopefully that more stories will be told. And so that's my take on Lovecraft Country. It was phenomenal. But this episode, I give it a 7.75. Again, I just thought this episode was rushed, a bit convoluted, left a lot of questions. A lot of things were done off camera or implied or told about stories you're supposed to show, not tell. And I think that is just kind of rushed. I mean, it's still good TV, but compared to the other episodes, I think this is probably my least favorite episode just because of some of the elements just didn't really make sense. Like I said, I'm going to go back and rewatch. If I change my opinion, then I will let y'all know. But anyway, that's about it, y'all. Have a good night. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, people, peace.